Welcome to the awesomers.com podcast. If you love to learn, and if you're motivated to expand your mind, and heck, if you desire to break through those traditional paradigms and find your own version of success, you are in the right place. Awesomers around the world are on a journey to improve their lives and the lives of those around them. We believe in paying it forward, and we fundamentally try to live up to the great Zig Ziglar quote, where he said, "You can have everything in your life you want if you help enough other people get what they want." It doesn't matter where you came from, it only matters where you're going. My name is Steve Simonson, and I hope you will join me on this awesomer journey.
If you're launching a new product manufactured in China, you will need professional, high-resolution, Amazon-ready photographs. Because Simo Global has a team of professionals in China, you will oftentimes receive your listings photographs before your product even leaves the country. This streamlined process will save you the time, money, and energy needed to concentrate on marketing and other creative content strategies before your item is in stock and ready for sale. Visit simoglobal.com to learn more, because a picture should be worth 1,000 keywords.
Hey everybody, Steve Simonson here, and I want to just welcome you to the awesomers.com podcast series. And in particular, this is episode number 109. That's right, 109 episodes. And all you have to do is go over to awesomers.com/109 to see today's show notes, details, etc. Now, today is another Storytime with Steve episode where I'm going to just take you through a little bit of a story or an anecdote from my life and hope to draw out a couple lessons for you along the way. Now, this is airing about the same time as this day happened way back when. And the title of an article I wrote a couple years back to recount this day was My First $1 Million Day Attempt. Now, this was a time where I was engineering an outcome with the team and the folks that were involved with the company, which I've exited long ago. But we were trying to build towards $1 million day. And so I'm going to read you parts of the article, and then I'll ad-lib as we go. So I lead in with history can be fun. A number of years ago, well, boy, how articulate am I? Let's try it again. A number of years ago, I founded and operated an e-commerce enterprise that did reasonably well. We found a moderate level of success after several years of toil and constantly following a fail-fast philosophy. Now, again, that's one of my axioms, and I talk about this regularly, that we want to just fail as quick as we can and learn what's working and what's not, and get better, make tweaks as we go. Failure is not a stopping point. It's a point of pivot, a point of tweak, or a point of evaluation where we go, yeah, it's working, or no, not so good. Let's make it better. Anyway, back to the story. A day that I remember vividly was the first time we set a goal to break $1 million of sales in a single day. Now, I share this contextually to remind the readers about the power of scale and systems, and that you are in the right place at the exact right time if you're thinking about e-commerce as your primary business model. And even though this was some years back, this still applies today across any range of businesses in the e-commerce space. E-commerce is still an extraordinary growth opportunity. So we'll flash back to a few years ago. The team and I had achieved between $3 to $4 million of sales per month, by the way, for the preceding 9 to 10 months. And we had seen some sales spikes that were in the $500,000 to $600,000 range of revenue on a single day basis. And typically it was when a promotion was ending. And part of the challenge when you get into promotions online is you get into what we call the promotional treadmill, right? You start on a Monday, it ends on a Friday, and there's kind of always a spike. Monday's a good day, and Friday's a good day. The weekends not as good, but they tick along. And then you're just on that treadmill. You have to just keep running. What's the next promotion? You look at the promotional calendar and you figure it out. So it's takes a lot of work to do that. But regardless of the amount of work, and there's a reasonable sized team, which I'll talk about, there was a pretty good revenue production that was happening on a consistent basis. And again, I would go home on a Friday and just watch as the countdown would, roll to an end on that Friday afternoon. And by the way, we would end them on Fridays because Friday was typically one of our slowest days before we started running promotions. And you'd see the thing pass 400,000, 500,000, 600,000, and it probably came very close to 700,000 a couple days. And so as I started the year, I had dreamed, and I even then promised at the company all hands meeting at the beginning of the year that we would have $1 million sales day that year, right? I kind of dropped the gauntlet and said, hey, guess what? If you were keeping score at home, this is the year we're going to do $1 million of sales in one single day. And just to come back for a minute, when I first started that particular business, and with a lot of talented people, and believe me, I think one of the lessons that you'll see in the story is that, the people are the magic behind the scenes. Certainly, I don't take credit for it. They delivered the magic. But when we started it, there was a point where we're like, can we get to $1 million in a year? Is that possible? And we, luckily enough, were able to do that, right off the bat, pretty much our first year. And then we're like, as the business was growing, and we faced some adversity, like the .com meltdown and the 9/11 and so forth. We started building the business, but we definitely faced some headwinds along the way. And as you get farther and farther into the company, we were wondering, hey, can we get to $1 million in a month? Is that possible? And at one point, it did not seem possible, but we got there. And we can talk about more about how we did that another time. But fundamentally, the next logical question for a guy like me, anyway, whether it's right or wrong, whether I have a defect in my brain or not, but it's like, hey, it would be a fun idea. I wonder if we could hit $1 million in a day. So as the CEO and as the fearless leader, I'm like, hey, we're charging the hill. It's $1 million day. Let's take it. Let's go. And everybody in January is like, yeah, this will be great. And they're cheering along, and they're excited too. But the reality was, I forgot about it kind of. I didn't really set the gauntlet down in a significant way. And maybe I just assumed it would happen in an organic way, but it didn't. So I'm going to jump back into the story now. The clock is ticking. In late October, we had not yet passed the $700,000 mark in a single day, and it seemed like the year was slipping away. This particular product is not holiday friendly, so after Thanksgiving, the business goes into the dead time. Literally, there's nothing going to happen after Thanksgiving, whereas many businesses, that becomes the peak, Black Friday and Cyber Monday and so on. But this particular type of business, the clock was ticking and time was running out. So I gathered my team, and this was probably sometime in September, after looking at the calendar, and I proclaimed that November 17th would be our first $1 million day. And I asked the troops, each of the leaders, and I probably had six to nine direct leaders that were in that room, and a couple reported to me. I like to only have one or two reports, and then that team will have several people report to them. But at that time, we probably had a couple hundred, 200 to 300 employees. I don't know the exact count. So my leadership team would then go talk to the management team, and the management team would talk to all the folks throughout the company to make sure we rallied those troops. Now, I drew a line in the sand, and I said it's happening one way or the other. So we drew up promotional ideas and set things in motion. And again, the marching orders were, it's happening this day. Whatever you got to do with your teams, make it happen. Over the course of the next 2 weeks, the entire company started really preparing ourselves for this big goal. The article goes on to say, you don't believe in Santa Claus? I do. So I could sense there was an undercurrent of uncertainty. Or to put it more plainly, there were some folks within the company who just simply didn't believe that we would achieve our goal. And they wouldn't say it outright. They didn't come and say, hey, Steve, or hey, boss, or hey, Mr. Smarty Pants CEO, you're dumb, and this isn't going to work. There was just a sense of it. Sometimes you can sense these things. It's part of your instincts. When things feel weird or awkward, or you just know that there's something pulling back. That's why I call it an undercurrent of uncertainty. Some of my top executives were some of the people who didn't have full faith. And obviously, this is an indictment of my leadership skills, which were clearly not honed well enough to motivate and inspire my direct team, the people closest to me. And if I can't inspire and motivate them, how in the world can I expect them to pass that motivation and inspiration down through the organization of, again, not just dozens of people, hundreds of people across a broad range of the country. We had offices all over the U.S. I don't remember how many states at the time, but probably 15 or 20 states with locations all over. And it was mostly driven by e-commerce. Even the locations around the country, we called them IPUPs, Internet Pickup Points, because I like to have fun acronyms. And they were really driving and working leads that came in online. So this is still an e-commerce driven business. Now, once I became aware of this uncertainty, or the undercurrent of uncertainty, I knew I had to do something. I'm going to tell you what I did right after this break.
Hey, Amazon Marketplace professionals, congratulations on your success to date. Your creativity, strategic vision, problem solving, and discipline have allowed you to build your own e-commerce business. Wouldn't it be great if you had more time to focus on the things that truly drive the sales and growth of your company? Instead of getting lost in a dozen different services and countless spreadsheets, what if there was one system that connected to your Amazon account and automatically gave you the information that you needed to make great decisions and really impact your business? Parsimony ERP can do that. Parsimony is the business operating system for your marketplace business. With Parsimony, you get true double-entry bookkeeping, easy financial statements, full customer service tools, and item-by-item profitability, along with project and task management, and more features are being added all the time. Learn more at parsimony.com. That's Parsimony, Parsimony.com. Parsimony.com. We've got that.
Okay, here we are back again, everybody. Steve Simonson on the awesomers.com podcast. And I was talking before the break about this idea that, not only was there a general sense of, are we really going to hit this goal? But I could sense that my top executives, the guys who were closest to me and reported to me, or at least reported the people who reported to me, that they weren't necessarily having full faith. And so I decided to let everyone have his or her say and do it in a public way. This way we're all accountable. So we all gathered around a large 4x8 whiteboard. So 4 feet by 8 feet. That's a very large whiteboard. Actually pretty common size, but it's big enough, right? And I challenged each team member to write their sales prediction for that $1 million day, November 17th, on the board next to their name. So, name and your projection. And we, of course, because we're not animals, we went by the standard showcase showdown rules that Bob Barker put in place many years ago. And for those that may be out of the loop on this common rule that's inspired by the TV show Price is Right, it says this: the one who's closest to the right number without going over wins the prize. And as I say in the article, I don't even remember what the prize was, but it was something worth winning. And even if it was just the ability to say, I told you so, to be right. And so what I said to the team is, I have a sense, everyone, that there's uncertainty about our potential to hit the number of $1 million. Maybe I've set a goal that you don't think is feasible, and it's okay. I'm not mad about it, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I want everybody to write down their predictions on the board, and as they did, they wrote down, their name and the amount. And as I recall, each person wrote their predictions on the board. And for me, my memory says that the predictions range from about $300,000, which is, seems like below an average sale end date for sure. But it was like a Wednesday. By the way, I think it was a Veterans Day. And I'll come back to that maybe later on in our story here. So 300,000 was probably about the low mark. And then I saw maybe one person for marketing in that $1.2 million forecast for the single day. And of course, there were two kind of marketing guys, Brian and Theron, that were probably more closely tuned to this objective, closest to me. And from my memory, the median guess was around $700,000 for the day. So we have people from finance, from merchandising, from service, all the different departments, all writing their projections. Whether or not they were directly responsible for that number or not, everybody knows that, when you bring in a lot of business, everybody's got to perform and execute with excellence to make it work. So the team's aggregated opinion was that we may indeed have a very nice superlative day that matched our prior all-time record, but we were not, I repeat, not going to hit $1 million that day. And ouch, that hurt. I was perplexed, admittedly, but I pressed forward, insisting that all measures be taken to prepare for this event. Now, I have to tell you that it was discouraging for me as the leader to throw down the gauntlet and then to have the team of the people who are most in control of that, essentially vote with their amount on the board whether or not that we could hit that goal as a company. And but I can't show that I'm discouraged necessarily, because that doesn't help anybody, right? If you have a team of people, especially when there's hundreds of people in an organization, and somebody goes, hey, the CEO's an idiot, and then the CEO goes, yeah, I am an idiot, and then you walk around with your head down like Charlie Brown, that's not going to inspire anybody. So you just have to kind of pick yourself up and keep charging on. And this, there's many axioms that come out of the lessons within this story. So now I'm going to do a flashback inside of another flashback just to add a little more context. So we're going to leave the $1 million day attempt story where basically my team has informed me we're not going to hit the goal. Doesn't matter what I say. They'll still press forward and they'll still go through the motions, but it ain't happening, boss. So again, I'm a heck of a leader. Me and Patton, we really inspire the troops, don't we? So anyway, but to give more context, we're going to jump back in time. So it's important to know when the first days of this business began, several years earlier, we ran a promotion, and over the course of 2 weeks, we sold around $15,000 worth of orders. Now, I remember it was about 15 days or 2 weeks because on February 14th, Valentine's Day, we were so overwhelmed by the orders that we had, we literally took our phone number off the website and we stopped taking orders. The chaos caused by our $15,000 in sales over that 2 week period was more than our system and our people could handle. We broke everything. It was a nightmare, but so exciting because I knew we could do more. This was the quintessential .com story, right? Where even though $15,000 doesn't sound like a lot of money, it was like those old, pets.com commercials where they go live and the internet goes live, and you may have seen this on the Super Bowl way back in the olden days. And an order comes in, everybody's kind of high-fiving, and another order comes in, and then the thing just starts running off, like you're just burning electricity a million gigawatts a minute. It just was happening, so fast. Now, ours didn't have quite that magnitude, but frankly, our suppliers were out of stock. We couldn't keep track of the orders we had. Shippers were losing stuff. I remember somebody in I think it was in the New Jersey Attorney General's office, either the Attorney General themselves or deputy somebody, but a pallet of product that we shipped to them was just lost. The shipper's like, yeah, we don't know where it is. And we're like, well, what do we do? They're like, I don't know, file a claim. We literally had no idea what we were doing. So we tell the Attorney General, hey, they don't know where it is, but we're going to file a tracer and a claim. And, if it doesn't show up, then we'll ship you some new stuff. They're like, no, not good enough. I want my new stuff immediately. So we next day aired a pallet of product to them. The shipping was twice as much that we paid as the product cost itself, right? So we lost money hand over fist there. And by the way, I don't think we ever got our claim back from the shipper who lost the stuff. So the whole thing was a bloody nightmare. We melted down the entire operation. But it was exciting at the same time because the potential, I knew we were onto something, right? So that was $15,000 over the course of 2 weeks that brought us to our knees. So as we're trying to prepare for $1 million day in a single day, the questions of, did we have the systems put in place? Do we have the people in place to cope with this kind of volume? And at the end of the day, the final judge would be our performance. How did the systems do well, and did the people do well? Now, even if we did everything right in our sales systems, and just as importantly, if our fulfillment systems failed, we would have a major problem on our hands, right? You can sell as much as you want, but if you can't execute on it, you've just created a problem. So the story goes on, fight or flight. In fact, I think now is a good time to take a break before we get into fight or flight and the conclusion of this exciting episode of Steve's Storytime, where I talk about my first $1 million sales attempt. So let's take that break right now.
Catalyst 88 was developed to help entrepreneurs achieve their short and long-term goals in e-commerce markets by utilizing the power of shared entrepreneurial wisdom. Entrepreneurship is nothing if not lessons to be learned. Learn from others, learn from us. I guarantee that we will learn from you. Visit catalyst88.com because your success is our success. Giddy up.
Okay, as I mentioned before we went to break, we're now into the fight or flight concept. And being the amazing leader that I am, I did the most logical thing possible. I went on vacation. Now, technically, I had already scheduled a trip to Mexico with my family before setting the $1 million day, but I had done what good leaders do, I forgot. So several days prior to the promotion, I left the country, and with that choice, I gave up the illusion that I have any control about controlling the outcome. I have zero control. It's really in the hands of my leadership team and all the talented people in the organization. And although I set the gauntlet and set things in motion and even tried to drive the initiative, the question really remained, what would happen? And it was quite up in the air, I can say. By the way, I even considered pushing off my vacation. I had a little vacation to Mexico with the family, and that did not go well at home. And so the fight or flight, it actually took both things into consideration. I had to fight about taking a flight, and I ended up in Mexico anyway. So finally the day arrived. I was on a beach. Literally, I have a picture that my ex-wife took. I'm sitting next to kind of a little cabana right on the beach, and I've got my BlackBerry with me, so you can kind of do the time zone, how long ago that was. And I was checking sales statistics first thing in the morning, and I have to say, it was interesting. By early morning in the Central Time Zone, we had already booked around $200,000 in sales. And if I looked at the remaining day parts, you kind of look at a day and you're like, morning, midday, afternoon, evening, that's 4 parts. We got a real shot. And it did seem feasible that we could potentially hit the $1 million. And by noon, we had passed $500,000 in sales. By 5 p.m., we passed $1 million in sales. And by the end of the day, we had racked up over $1.7 million in a single day. And I can tell you what a rush it was. That sales record was far above any figure that the team had dared to write on the board, including myself, by the way. I think I probably wrote like $1 million on there. It showed us all that we could do more than we thought was possible if we worked together to make it happen. That is to say that if everyone works hard, except me, obviously, because I was on vacation, that we can accomplish our goals. And perhaps a sub-moral of the story is I should go on vacation more often. Best of all, those actually working during that day reported that the pace felt busy, but not chaotic. The systems handled the surge, and the people managed the systems. Everything worked as we expected it to. So this is a big stark contrast to that Valentine's Day some years earlier, where we completely melted down over a paltry $15,000 worth of sales. Just compare, I don't know, it's more than 100 times. So 15,000, 100 times bigger, and our systems were able to clip along. And by the way, the system was called Parsimony, and my partner, Michael Pikowski, and I are working on kind of bringing that level of system back to everyday e-commerce entrepreneurs. You could check that out at parsimony.com. Our Parsimony system, which in some ways we call doing more with less, is what people were actually able to harness to be able to cope with the influx of business, yet maintain order, right? And one of the guys always like to say, we need to bring order from chaos. And that really is the goal of any business. So on the eve of our next major promotion, when I asked the people to write their predictions on the whiteboard, before the median prediction was like 700,000 and kind of a pessimistic 700,000, And the next time we wrote down on the board, the median prediction was closer to $2 million, by the way. The team now shared the vision that any goal was, in fact, possible. And my summation to this is that you can do it too. I share this story today because new entrepreneurs have a unique advantage. You already have the resources of nearly infinite scalability working for you. That's the Amazon FBA or other third-party logistics channels. And not to mention the Amazon web sales channel, eBay, Walmart, whatever. You're not going to break those systems. So you've got this scalability right at your fingertips. And by using proven e-commerce business models, you can chart a new path to success. You can achieve unbelievable heights using these world-class tools and systems, but it does require a commitment to follow a system, learn, get smarter, and repeat. Now, part of the moral to my story is even if those around you are not yet ready to believe in your vision, as long as you believe in it and as long as you prepare to achieve it, you can experience what would be otherwise unimaginable success. Now, my company at that time invested millions of dollars to scale to those levels, and you don't have to. In today's world of advanced technology, you have amazing resources that you don't have to invest, millions of dollars. You can just do dozens of dollars, right? Not millions, dozens. And, there's so many ways that you can put your money to work. And I really do believe in the great Zig Ziglar, mentality of paying it forward. So my New Year's resolution a couple years back was to try and live up to Zig Ziglar's famous quote this year more than any year in the past, where he said, you can have everything in your life you want if you help enough other people get what they want. And I hope to continue to declare my resolution towards this and hopefully find my resolution being successful. Ultimately, it's only up to the folks listening and the folks that I've tried to make an impact on to determine if I was successful or not. And, if they tell me about it, then I feel great. And if I hear nothing from nobody, I assume these words were unheard. I do want to remind everybody that they can do this themselves. The world definitely needs more entrepreneurs. And just a little shout out to the Empower E-commerce Cooperative. Too often people try to go into this thing alone, and the feelings of isolation you can get as an entrepreneur can be very, very painful. So even in that company where I had hundreds of employees, I was all alone at the top. Even my top key executives, when they didn't believe, I can't go complain about that to them. I needed people around me who understood. And that's why the Empower E-commerce Cooperative exists. It's a community. It's a series of systems that help you put your business together, including vendors and various service-related resources. It's just a hack to help you move the ball forward. So I really do love entrepreneurs, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. Don't forget, this has been episode number 109 of the Awesomers.com podcast. And you just need to go to awesomers.com/109 and you can get show notes and details and things like that. I appreciate everybody listening. Don't forget to subscribe and share. And heck, if you want to make my day, go leave a review. That would be pretty awesome. Thanks very much.
Empower. The name says it all. Connecting e-commerce entrepreneurs with great people, ideas, systems, and the services needed to stay business dynamic and to grow. Empowery is a network, a cooperative venture of tools and resources to make you better at what you do, because we love what you do. We are you. Visit empowery.com to learn more.
Well, we've done it again, everybody. We have another episode of the Awesomers podcast ready for the world. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you've enjoyed our program today. Now is a good time to take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this podcast. Heck, you could even leave a review if you wanted. Awesomers around you will appreciate your help. It's only with your participation and sharing that we'll be able to achieve our goals. Our success is literally in your hands. Thank you again for joining us. We are at your service. Find out more about me, Steve Simonson, our guests, team, and all the other Awesomers involved at awesomers.com. Thank you again.